Welcome to the Lantern Light Podcast. Lantern Light is an artist collective, publication, and promotional platform focused on shedding light on the talented artists of our hometown of New Orleans, Louisiana, and beyond. Follow us at lanternlightinc.com for updates on future podcasts, live recording sessions, and more. I'm your host, Kyle Erosh, and today's guest is PJ Huesmann, a local New Orleans touring musician and drummer. We talk about drum gear, playing drums, music, touring, the industry. It was really fun, and there's some good information here for you guys. I hope you enjoy it. All right, my man PJ.
Hello.
Thanks for coming into the studio, dude.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
How's it been a pleasure? You haven't been on yet.
I know. This is 5 seconds. It's already awesome. No, it's for real awesome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, dude. Awesome. So, just got back from tour.
I did like a little week East Coast run with the band called Sun and Flesh from Newark, Jersey. Met those guys about a couple years ago, and they kept in contact with me whenever their drummer was kind of injured, and so it's very unfortunate. But they got me out playing some shows, so I can't complain.
Cool. How was it?
That run was kind of weird. Oh man, that one was kind of last minute just because of everything that's happening within the band, like the drummer being injured. They have some stuff, some big plans for them coming out soon, so go follow them. Actually, they're a pretty dope band. But it was just super last minute planned, and so it was a last minute run, kind of not shot, but it was worth it, you know.
Cool, man. Yeah, let's like circle back a little bit and start from the beginning. So like how long have you been playing drums for?
Oh man. So side story, I'm born and raised in Slidell, but I've been playing since September of Katrina. So 05, about 14 years. And actually a funny story how I got that. So I'm super young. I'm 22.
Right. I was gonna bring that up. Like, you're definitely one of the younger dudes in the scene over here doing stuff. So I commend you for that.
I appreciate it.
For the hustle.
Thank you. I try to live it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But so Katrina happened when I was about 7 or 8, and I think I was 7 turning 8. And I don't know essentially what happened. My family evacuated to Lafayette, and there was a local drum store. I forget what their name is. I think it's called Scott's.
Definitely in Lafayette.
Is it Scott's?
Yes.
Awesome.
Scott's.
Shout out to Scott's Drum Shop for giving my first drum set. But I don't know if my dad like ran into extra money, or like my family had extra money from like the checks they got from insurance or whatever. But my birthday resided about maybe 2 or 3 weeks after Katrina, and my family decided to say, hey, PJ can't stand still because he has ADHD. This is a very true story. And so I just kept on tapping on things as a kid. And so they just gave me like a full-blown like 7-piece Mapex drum set with like all Sabian cymbals, like as an 8-year-old child. It's like we moved back into the house, and that was like right next to my drum set like every single day as an 8-year-old child.
Nice.
Yeah.
Did you are you self-taught, or did you have any formal education?
A little bit of both. So up until high school, I was self-taught. I had a lot of like heavy influence. I listened to a lot of Metallica. I was like the biggest Metallica fan in the world. My family actually didn't let me listen to this band yet, but I'm very influenced by like early Slipknot, or was. But whenever I listened to them, it was just like, yeah, I just want to play fast. This is really technical, yada, yada, yada. And I eventually, when I got to high school, and shout out to Wes Menino, I'm about to shout you out for this. I got to Mr. Wes, who was my drum instructor for North Shore High School from 2012 to 2016. And that man looked at me. He's like, God bless you, kid. Like, honestly, because he just worked with my hands and my grip about everything, and like focused on my approach to the drum. It's like either that or Sean, one of our friends, Sean Doria. He's taught me a lot of good things. He's definitely one of my mentors as well about pocket, or how to approach certain writing aspects of performing drums realistically. That man's a god. Both of them are gods.
Yeah, shout out Sean Doria. Yeah,
shout out Sean Doria. You're my best bud, dog.
Shout out the whole New Orleans little drum clique that's going on right now. Like, you guys, Sean, all the homies, like, I'm trying to always learn from all you guys as much as possible. It's cool how, I don't know, how encouraging everybody is.
Everyone's super supportive.
Everyone's super supportive.
Everyone's very much so supportive.
Everyone's very serious about the craft, and they're very open to teaching everybody, I feel like.
At least our clique is. Our clique is kind of small. I say our, like me and your. Like, I consider you in the clique.
Thanks, man.
Hell yeah. No, our clique of like 6 or 7 drummers, it's just like we're very dedicated to it. We definitely are like living it instead of talking about it. Like, obviously there's people that are working a 9 to 5. Not saying a 9 to 5 is like bad or anything, but there's people that like practice at home or don't play shows as often as we do. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. For sure, man. So at what time did you really get bit by like taking the drums seriously? I guess, like, when did it transfer over from being a hobby to being something you want to pursue seriously as a career?
There's 2 answers to this. I knew it was going to be a definite thing for me whenever I was like 11 or 12 years old, and my dad actually put me into like a little makeshift garage studio and was like, "Hey, we're gonna make you or let you play some covers without drums, and then you do your aspect of it." And that kind of fascinated me. I was like, "Whoa, I get to do my own thing," and I'm on a CD and stuff. Like, me being a preteen, I was like, "This is sick." But what made me kind of realize that this is a way of living for me, like there's nowhere else I can go besides playing drums, is whenever I graduated high school. I say whenever, but it was like maybe like 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago. I'm still super young. I'm so sorry. But whenever I graduated high school, there was a whole bunch of offers and different career opportunities heading towards me. And I just had a lot of support from my mom's side of the family, which is where I was living at the time, to just do it, just to kind of go at it, because they saw the potential that I had. They saw everything that was coming my way, all the skills that I had. It definitely wasn't like a hobby for me. It definitely was like a way of living, and it definitely was a big, big step outside of high school, because I actually joined a band called In Reverie back in the day. Rest in peace, In Reverie. I love you. I joined a band called In Reverie, and I had to quit my loan officer job. That was like $6K, like 6 figures a year, like benefits out the ass. And that was like a deciding point. It's like, all right, I'm going to be like the next Josh Freeze doing this. That's my goal initially.
Nice. Yeah. You came to the point where you put all your chips in.
Without a doubt. I'm still in it, bro. Like, it's obviously a struggle, but it's all right. It's honest living. So
for people who maybe, what's a piece of advice you give to people who are maybe trying to transition into touring or doing it more seriously? How did you break into touring? You can't tiptoe in this industry. Like, you can't just like splash around in the water. Obviously you can, but if you want to go like deep into it, and you're like, all right, this is my profession, like, you have to get into it. Like, there's obviously going to be some type of pay cut if you're working a 9 to 5 or you work in some type of 401k job. Like, they won't allow you to tour. They won't allow you to do whatever. I work the drum department with Brock and Guitar Center in New Orleans, and there's sometimes where I'll ask off for shows or we'll ask off for shows, and they'll argue with us to kind of take off. So there's always going to be some type of struggle. There's always going to be some type of reason to not do it. Mm-hmm. But you just gotta stick to it. You gotta hold your ground. And if it's for you, it's for you. You can't like say you're a full-time musician and be half-hearted into it. It definitely comes from within the heart, without a doubt. Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of shit you have to get through. Yes. to instantiate yourself in the industry. A lot of people get weeded out. A lot of people who act like they're real, you figure out they're not real because they're not there. Year after year. I wouldn't say act like they real. Some people are real as hell. I actually, God bless. I actually met one of the Neville brothers' cousins last night. He was talking about how he was trying to make it out and how he works like
like a regular job at as like a desk clerk, and he sings on the weekends and stuff like that. And I was like, look at you go. I was like, oh, better Neville.
Yeah, true. I guess, but to kind of hit on what you were saying, I guess, it is important to, I guess for people who want to create their own, future in this industry or another creative pursuit, is kind of like you have to want it to where you orchestrate your life around it, right?
Without a doubt.
Because, I mean, it's like, family, like you said, if you have a career that you've been working on, it's hard to step away from that. But, if you orchestrate everything around doing this, which is really what it takes, that's so everything has to be calculated kind of to do something like this, I guess.
Without a doubt. I wouldn't say there has to be as much as a sacrifice as I did. Like some people can just be born into it, and just be like, okay, I have chops or I have good writing aspects or whatever, and they're just a musician their whole entire life. But they're a musician their whole entire life,
Right.
Like there's obviously some people that need to quit for more important reasons like family or health, or if it's too much of a financial cut. I understand that, but if you definitely want to dive into it and be like, hey, I want to tour, like be prepared to tour. Like it's gonna suck, but there's gonna be most times where it's gonna be awesome. But it's definitely a change of life. It's definitely a change of heart.
So how long ago did you get your first, like, how long had you been in it when you got your first like tour opportunity to tour with a band that was just looking for a drummer?
Let me answer your question with a question. Do you consider like a week out or 2 weeks out a tour, or would you consider that a run?
2 weeks, yeah, sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Probably when, like I said, whenever I quit that loan officer position, I had to quit like I think a week before, and Reverie headed out with a run with Alterez on the East Coast. We went up to like Pennsylvania and stuff like that and back. That was a dope run. That was sick. That was my first tour / run ever, and it definitely taught me a lot. That it definitely didn't sugarcoat anything. Like this is your life. This is how some tours are going to go, and it's a lot of trial and error.
Right. Well, I guess to better focus the question, how did you get from bands that are around here that obviously from being involved in the music scene and playing with them, which would be like an In Reverie situation? How did you go from that to getting picked up by bands out of state that need a drummer?
Connections,
right? And how?
Without a doubt.
Explain that to people.
So. It's all about, don't want to say all about, it's mostly about who you know in this industry and if you're ready. Like, I can't tell you how many times I have heard stories from someone or like someone who's in my clique and they're like, hey man, I just got this offer, but I don't know about it. And they waited so long to answer back that literally the day before someone already got the gig. That actually happened to me the other day. I was so mad.
Yeah, I think you can't be stopped by self-doubt or anything like that. And what's the term? Luck is like being prepared at the right time or whatever. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes. Sean taught me that. That's
what
crazy.
is it? Luck is just like, good luck is just being prepared and being there at the right time. But you like always have to be prepared. However that saying is worded, right?
It's around there, but you definitely have to be prepared. Like I always say, if I get a call from like, I don't know, name a big band like 9 Inch Nails or something.
Mm-hmm.
Which is funny because I'm not a 9 Inch Nails fan at all, but sorry. They're still a good band. Say if I get like Josh Freese calls me or Elon Rubin's like, hey man, I'm sick. Like, can you fly out tomorrow? I was like, if you pay for my shipping, sure. It's just like, I'm just ready to go.
You gotta be a yes man.
You have to be a yes man. If you wait too long, they will find someone else for you. I promise you. It's kind of cutthroat like that, but it's just like, there's so many of me itching for a gig. You know, you definitely have to stand out, and you definitely have to have a lot of connections and got to have a lot of spunk to do it. You got to stand out from the others.
Well, I think that it just hits on the fact that the first thing you said was connections.
Without a doubt.
And I mean, I think you have to be good. You have to be a master of your craft. You have to be putting in your 10,000 hours in. But that's, half of it, and the other half is being able to be cool to people and make your connections, because the farther that we get down in this rabbit hole in this crazy music industry, it's just not as large as you think it is. It's always smaller than you think it is, and you never know when somebody is going to come with an opportunity for you, or know somebody that has an opportunity for you. So I just think like you have to be socially inept to be able to do this, and you also have to just be trying to help people as much as possible, dude. Like, that's my strategy for all this stuff. Like, you know, if I can like offer somebody value in my person, whether it's like just to be cool to them, whether it is, you know, whatever I can offer, I feel like that's normally a good position to be in, because a lot of people don't know how to approach people. A lot of people don't know, you know, how to make connections or how to like move forward in the industry. But, you know, basically people are looking for, if they have an opportunity for anybody, you want to be there to show that I have value to give you, and also not just be there to try to take something from somebody, because everyone's got their hand out and everyone's trying to get shit. You know what I mean?
Everyone hungry.
Everyone hungry, but
Everyone be hungry, dog.
everyone hungry, but not everyone got something to offer.
Well, I wouldn't say that. A lot of people have something to offer, but there's people that fit more of the offering.
Yeah,
If that makes any type of sense.
yeah. Well, and especially when you get to, you know, I guess upper level of this stuff. I mean, competition's pretty gnarly. So, you know, what for you, like right now, like what is your like practice regimen like?
Ooh, nice transition.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I have wanted to gain so much gospel chops in the past year or so. So ever since I started working at Guitar Center, shout out Guitar Center New Orleans. Yeah. Ever since I started working at Guitar Center, I just noticed all these like gospel cats coming in. And, you know, for me coming from like a hard rock technical background, it's like,
Yeah, they're the best.
it's night and day. I was like, yo, I want to do that.
Yeah,
and then,
same.
And then within a year, I've like gathered as much as I could for it. And I still try to like practice that regularly and try to get my shredding chops and my linear chops up, because I definitely didn't have them when I was growing up. And it was just like literally just single stroke rolls across the kit, or maybe some like fast double beat stuff, or maybe some technical shit. It's like, no, play some pocket with some linear groove and put a clave in there and swing it. You know, like I didn't know that until like a couple of years ago.
Yeah, all those boys who grew up in church playing that are just on another level.
That's so wild. It's like repeat customers too that come in the store, and they'll like come in like groups of them, and they'll just like shredding.
And they'll all be God tier, and they make you
without a doubt.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? A blessing in disguise. One of them that actually helped me. He's a blessing customer. Devin Dressclair, I think I'm pronouncing his last name correctly. He's with some big like blues and jazz artist down. He's been a regular with me for like months, and sweetest guy. Comes in, shred pocket with him, whatever. Teaches me some stuff. And just the other day, someone came up to him. There's also another little fact of how small the industry is, and how like wild it is of who's famous and who's not, or quote unquote famous and who's not. Someone came up to him. It was like two different people. And they're like, yo, you're Devin from I keep forgetting the band. God bless. You're Devin from so-and-so. Like, I'm one of your biggest fans. Like, I follow you on Instagram. And it kind of took me back, because I'm like, Devin, you didn't tell me you were like famous. Like, I know you're good, but I didn't know you're that good. And he's just like super humble about it. Like, it's just such a small world of who would help each other out. Actually, you know what? The other day, BB King's drummer dropped by.
Damn.
And it was just like super fascinating to teach him, or let him teach pocket to whoever was coming in. I say I was teaching him. I would never teach BB King's drummer ever.
Stay in your lane,
ever. But it's just like it's like going back to the question. It's one of those things where I'm trying to learn from others. You know, I'm definitely in an environment where I wasn't in before, and so I try to take that environment in as much as I can from my roots or my origins of playing like Metallica and Slipknot, like I mentioned earlier today.
Yeah, I think that harps on what I brought up in the beginning. You know, like we have this little, you know, drum community here in the New Orleans music scene, and like, man, it's so much easier to learn from your friend or anybody else, honestly, that's playing stuff in a different way than you're playing.
But it's the same genre, excuse me.
Yeah, I mean, in any way, like I'm trying to like spend more time, like, you know, asking you or Sean or any of my drum friends, you know, like, you know, come teach me, because regardless, like, you're gonna do things differently than I do it. Like, there's always something to learn from other people. But okay, so how many hours are you putting on a kit? When
a week?
Yeah, a week. Or like during your times of like learning or like really, you know, honing in the craft. And you know, what's like a regular week like?
For me?
Yeah.
Well, like I said, I have ADHD, so like I'm always right next to like a pad and a pair of sticks and stuff like that. So I'll hack out. I'll try and keep my marching chops up to date, if so, because I definitely want to be like the next Thomas Lang and just like do double stroke rolls across the kit with ease for no reason. No, I'm just kidding. That man's a god. That man's like a god in drums. Shout out to Thomas Lang. But my practice regimen, it's kind of weird. So I'm always at Guitar Center. And so there's always kits over there, and like every lunch break or so, I'll practice to either like a metronome or I'll practice pocket. Recently, I've been practicing something that I learned from Eric Moore, and just he's been posting a lot of videos about his velocity towards the snare drum. He doesn't like approach the subject of it or like mention it. But that man's slap to a snare drum is ridiculous. And it's just like the simplest pocket, but his snare will pop just from how hard he's hitting it. But it's all just within the velocity of his hand. So like something I was taught by Wes, and it's like, it's not about how hard you're going to hit, it's the velocity to the drum and your approach to it, you know? Like same reason why I hit so hard, but it doesn't look like I hit hard.
It's all about,
Technique.
Technique, ergonomics, all that stuff. Yeah, like I did a lesson with Forrest Rice, the dude in Covet, right?
That man's
like
a god.
the goat, the high cymbal goat.
Oh my god.
Put them cymbals up. Yeah.
Dude, Forrest, I love you, bro. I've seen you once, but you shred like none other. That is wild how much you shred in that band.
Yeah, he's a big influence to me. Like that stuff's like, that's what I watch to be like humble myself out. But like I did a little lesson with the homie, and like the main thing, that the takeaways and the main thing we focus on, like you go, oh, like this guy's gonna teach me how to like do all this like weird five playing and all this stuff. But really all it was like, okay, like on the dynamics, like you only want to, like when you're doing ghost notes, like focus on like only raising the stick like an inch.
Really?
Yeah.
So he doesn't approach like shredding at all. He just approaches like
of course, but like like the main things we have to talk about are just basic shit, like how watch like how like high you're raising the stick when you do the ghost notes. Keep it within an inch of movement. Like whenever you're going to like do your accent, try to hit it with a 90-degree angle. Like like very simple ergonomic stuff. Like you were talking about Eric Moore, you're looking at like how he's
approaching
hitting the
drum,
snare drum, like So yeah, no, I mean it's weird how when you the farther you get into it, it's like when you're younger, you're like fascinated by the chops and everything, but it's like as time goes on, it's like it's always the basics. I feel like
it's like how do you get the chops to sound so good?
It's the basics.
Yeah. I mean, I learned all that stuff from marching though, and I just applied like marching to drum set, and it's basically the same exact thing. Anyone that says like, oh, it's two different techniques, awesome. You go traditional, but there's people who play traditional on kit, but it's the same exact approach to the drum.
But that's why I'm always like pissed at myself that I didn't do any band in school at all.
You can learn it. Did Forrest do marching?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna say yeah. I have no idea, but yes.
You got to ask him because there's a lot of people that didn't do marching band or wasn't fortunate enough like me to have Wes or like a good drum line.
Yeah.
That taught me that, but they got taught elsewhere, and it took them like a couple of years to get it.
Yeah, you can always learn, but man, like having that experience and then putting it to kit is like that puts you at such an advantage, and I'm always just perplexed at how many people are in marching band are like savage at snare or tenors or anything, and a lot of those people like never play set, never get into like music and
Isn't that wild?
In a different way. They're super into school band and competition and all that stuff, and their hands are like insane. And all I ever think about is like, man, if you learn drum set, you would just destroy like 90% of drummers. But I don't know, the limb interdependence and all that stuff. I think it just like it's such a different thing, and school band is just such a community and its own like thing. I guess people don't like really branch out of that, but as a drummer, I'm always like, damn, dude, like fuck, like please play drum set, everybody, like. Come on.
This also goes back to what we were talking about in the beginning of the podcast, where it's all about if you want to do it or not. It's all about if you have the heart to do it. Because out of the 4 years that I was in that high school drumline, I think it's only me and someone else who was, I think it was my drum captain my junior year, that actually took it outside of high school. Like he went on to go march DCI, which is like an international corp.
Right.
He aged out through there for about, I think he was in it for like 3 or 4 years. He like got into top 10 of like worlds every single year he did it. Like he's the guy. It was just like me and then him. I think I can't think of anyone else who took drums outside of that.
Right.
Goes back to putting in your 10,000 hours and making sure you're dedicated enough for it. I don't know if he's doing anything now, but he definitely did a lot of professional stuff in the marching industry. Kudos to him.
Yeah, shout out.
Shout out.
So, I guess right now, lately, like, what's inspiring you to keep doing this? Like, what's inspiring you to keep doing this as far as like you moving forward in the industry, but also just like play drums? I mean, you said gospel chops, but
yeah, it kind of ties in.
What people or things are inspiring you as an artist to try to be a better artist yourself?
Probably. I mean, if you find the art boring, you need to quit. Like there's so much stuff that needs to get learned within the time that you have. Like there's so much lessons, so many lessons, that can be learned, especially just with drums or in guitar, bass, vocal, whatever you do. Like me, like I'm not saying I've reached my drum capacity. Like there's obviously stuff for me to learn, but I want to learn how to songwrite now. You see what I'm saying? So I'm trying to learn guitar. I'm trying to learn the essence of songwriting and stuff. So that kind of influences me to keep going.
It'll make you better in all facets at drums and everything. And I guess that's the thing. This finding something that, okay, whether it's like, drums or production or whether it's music or not music, it's like finding something that like it's so deep, like you can never master it completely. Really, like it keeps going. The rabbit hole keeps going.
There's so much more you can find. It really is a rabbit hole, man. Like it's wild, and people are still inventing stuff today. Like there's stuff I see on Instagram for all the drummers that I follow on through there that it's just new stuff that I'm seeing every single day. I'm like, yo, I want to do that.
Who are some Instagram drummers people should follow?
Stanton Moore, Stanley Randolph, definitely Eric Moore, Nate Smith. Shout out to Nate Smith. That man's becoming one of my favorites. It's a lot of. I realize I'm issuing like a lot of like pop and like gospel drummers, or like just straight like not at all metal or hard rock drummers. But I mean that's good. I mean go diversify yourself.
I'll put out Justin Scott. J Scott drummer is his handle.
Yeah,
that dude's a savage. JD Beck. Shout out JD Beck. That dude's been influencing me a lot. His pocket is dumb.
Who else? Oh, you know what? The Orlando drummer. I don't necessarily follow him. I follow him through like searches and stuff like that. Just like, oh, he's kind of cool. Devin Clark from Canton Hill. He preaches words about him. Shout out Devin. Awkwardness. He talks about him all the time. Orlando drummer, that guy. I don't know his name. I'm very sorry.
That's his handle, Orlando drummer.
That's his YouTube channel. I don't know if it's his Instagram handle, but he'll send me stuff via YouTube on that guy, and it's just like really, really good.
Cool. So we talked about what's inspiring you to keep going. How do you combat burning out, and have you ever burned out?
Honestly, never.
Which
is really weird.
I added that to the question because you're ADD ass. I could just see.
I really am ADHD. I'm so sorry.
I can't see you like stopping.
I really can't. It's so wild. Honestly, from that last tour that I mentioned earlier, that it was one of those things where it's just like, oh, okay, this tour kind of sucks. There wasn't that much in attendance, but I'm still here. It's still another show underneath my belt.
Getting your reps.
100%. You have to play. You definitely, listen, if you learn anything from this podcast, learn this, that you have to play a lot of crappy shows to play the big shows, without a doubt.
That's why, in my opinion, whenever it's like, oh, some kids who like went to school for music or whatever, and like whether I was running sound at a show or whatever, it's like the way somebody handles no one being at a show will show me if they real or not. Because like, yeah, it could suck, you know what I mean? But how many times have we all done that? And you just have to accept like, I like playing music and this is what it is. And I've just seen some kids who just think like they're entitled, they're fucking rock stars, and like I can just tell like, oh, you haven't experienced shit yet. You haven't experienced shit.
I'm getting like PTSD from what you just said about everyone getting rock stars. It's like, yeah, man, I just played in front of 20 people. What about you? And I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
No, that's honestly a really, really good point. That's a really, really good point because I don't know if many people know this, but 21 Pilots is like, so obviously 21 Pilots, one of the biggest bands in the world. All they played to get signed under whatever record label or management they're on was the bartender and an AR rep that was on vacation or whatever. Supposedly, from what I've heard.
All it takes is the right person to see your shit.
Yeah,
you
but
know?
it's literally like, it's luck. It's being prepared when an opportunity is presented.
That's right.
But no, going back to being like, oh man, this is a kind of nothing show, like no one's here. And you watch how people act whenever there's 5 people in front of them, or how people perform. To me, every performance is a blessing to me because, like I said, Sun and Flesh had a couple of tours with me because their drummer is out for carpal tunnel. Like, God bless John. John, I hope you get better. I really do. But it's one of those things where you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow.
Yeah.
So you literally have to take every single show for granted.
Right, because ultimately you just like playing drums while you're there.
You're already there. Go ahead and that's what I'm saying. Go make time of it. You're not going to, why would you give someone, even that one person that paid $10 to see you, why would you give them the crappiest $10 they spent as opposed to being like, yo, this man is amazing.
But regardless, like, you're there because you just like to fucking hit drums. So you're about to hit drums.
Yes. If you get,
right?
If it starts to get not fun for you, just stop.
Yeah, because there's a lot of other things you could be doing that will give you more money or whatever,
It'll give you safety. That's what people want, man.
It'll give you sanity.
That too. Oh man. No, that's
okay.
funny.
All right. So somebody's about to go on their first tour ever, PJ, right?
You are?
No. Someone.
Oh, okay.
A person,
I was like, shout out Kyle.
A person's about to go on tour. I've already toured once when I was 18.
Okay.
Only one time, but shout out to 18-year-old me.
Woo!
But somebody's going on tour for the first time. What's something you wish you knew before your first, 2-week plus tour? What is the necessity to know? What do you bring? What's some nugget of information to give?
If it's prepare to lose money, realistically. Because not saying that every tour loses money, but if it's a DIY tour and it's only like you and another band that only has so many likes and so many streams, like prepare to just put in your 10,000 hours and prepare to put in your effort. Like a lot of people think that it's like, oh man, you bring like 50, 60 people on the door, you must be getting paid like $1,000 per night. And I was like, no, I didn't even get paid.
Right.
That's me at a local show,
Right.
You have to be prepared to have some type of loss, but with loss there is success.
You gain something from that.
You definitely, whether it's some type of success. I actually learned this from Sean. God, Sean's such a mentor to me. Shout out to Sean. I love you, bro. I learned this from Sean, but success comes in many different ways, whether it be financial, whether it be spiritually, whether it be mentally, physically, whatever it is, you will gain some type of success or some type of lesson learned from you touring. So be prepared to not, for the unexpected, realistically, because it's not everything that I expected for my first run. Even my first big run, it wasn't what I expected.
Do you feel like you become a better musician just by going through the experience of playing every day for however I show every day forever how long that is?
It usually took me. Yeah, I would agree with that essentially because you're behind the drums every single day.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, if you get some tours under your belt, I mean, obviously you've been playing a fuck ton of shows, and that's gonna reflect to your live show performance, I would think.
Yes.
How comfortable you are around the kit, how comfortable you are playing when you're fucking tired, how comfortable you are when you're like beat down and been eating like shit for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Right?
Wholeheartely. That's actually a really good point because I will say before I started touring, I was just like a stick. Like I didn't move. Like I didn't do anything. I maybe was clean. I don't know. Someone tell me I don't hear myself. But whenever I started like touring and starting to play shows left and right, like maybe down here, like 2-3 shows, sometimes 4 or 5 shows a month. That's not saying anything, but this one, it's big for me. and then doing tours left and right outside of that, it definitely enhanced and saw how many other drummers were outperforming me, because one of my influences is Morgan Rose from Seven Dust. Like that man performs the hell out of that show.
Yeah.
And it's like, I want to be that. I want to be comfy enough to where I can play clean and be that. And to be honest with you, it also gets some experience underneath your belt from seeing how many other local drummers want it more than you.
Oh, like, because you'll see some random guy and he's just savage and you're like, fuck.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I can't look. I preach about this band all the time. There's a band called Qualia from Chicago that I met on the last day of the Day Show run that I did, and all nice people, all sweeties. Literally the best, like, quote unquote local band I've ever seen on being on a tour. I preach about them all the time. Their songs are great. They perform excellent. The guitarist and bass player just were so in sync with each other. Like, I don't know if they organized it, but it definitely was a good show to put on. Their drummer was amazing. Mike, shout out to Mike. Mike's a god. Mike's really good. Them and there's a band that I see a lot from touring with Sun and Flesh that also makes me bump it up a little bit. They're all in like maybe their 30s, maybe early 40s. It's a band called Vexus. And for men as old as they are in the scene, not just in age, but just in the scene, and they still perform like that every single night, as clean as they are, and they put on a show. It makes me want to put on a show, you know? So it definitely taught me a lesson to kind of when I'm home, like, or when I'm here in New Orleans where I live. I've also been taught that it's not a hometown, it's just where we live. See what I'm saying? Because like my band could draw way more in Atlanta, Georgia than down here, you know?
Yeah.
So like another topic where we could get to, but tying it back up, it's just seeing a lot of different small influences, I guess, on tour of how much people are cleanly playing and how much they're performing kind of made me be like, okay, I need to be that performer.
Because you're just there. You're at the show. Okay.
Even that, just take it home with you.
Well, no, but I guess my point is for anybody looking to do anything in any field, you need to just show up. Like, even if you're not playing, like, being there is important.
Also, showing up to a venue, it's also freaking free advertising, man. Oh man, what you doing lately? Oh, I'm with this band. We got a record coming out next month. You should look into that.
Or in my boat, whether I'm looking for another band to produce or record or, whatever, like, me just showing up there and being like, hey, I'm here. Like, that'll do a lot more for you than if you don't get involved, and you have to like get out of your own way sometimes and just be in the same room.
You can't be shy in this music industry, I'll tell you that.
I mean,
you cannot be shy wholeheartedly.
If it's 50% skill, 50% who you know, that's on like the conservative side. It's probably like 75% who you know, and just be prepared. Like,
oh man, I can't tell you how much you need to be prepared. Literally, as soon as I got home from the Sun and Flesh run, I'm not gonna name drop or say who, but Sun and Flesh's producer, he knows a good bit of bands, and he had one of his bigger bands that had a Euro run, and he was like, "Hey, I need a drummer. Who you got?" And immediately, I have all my resume, all my videos on hand, just in case this were to happen. So immediately emailed the band, emailed the producer, emailed booking agent and manager. But sadly, I did not get the gig because someone else got it before me. But it goes to them. Kudos to them for being more prepared than I was.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Because he may have been closer. He may have been a close friend of the band that was going,
Right.
But he was more prepared than I was at the moment. So who being prepared for it.
Yep. That's what it is.
But you have to make connections. It doesn't come towards you.
So,
without a doubt.
So what do you have going on, PJ? Where can people find what you're doing? What are you involved with right now? What do you want to plug?
I want to plug. Let me plug my band. Go follow Stepping Sideways. We are we're based in NOLA. I hate saying that our hometown is NOLA or the North Shore, wherever it is, because like I said, something I've learned recently, it's not your hometown. We just live here.
Explain that for the people.
So like I said, I did a couple runs with Sun and Flesh. Two members of that band are Austrian. like born in Austria, and then they picked up someone that was from Brooklyn, but they all reside in New Jersey, and they've been playing in New Jersey for the longest time. And whenever the first run of this most recent tour, it was like 10 minutes away from their house. And I went up to them and I was like, sick, hometown show. We're going to draw a good bit. And their singer, Christoph, comes up to me. He's like, this isn't a hometown. We just live here. Like, realistically, we're from Austria, but we don't consider that home. Like, we consider this home, but this band doesn't reside anywhere. We play wherever we want.
Do they have a hometown for the band? Do they call anywhere? Do they claim anywhere?
They're all over, man.
So they don't claim any town.
They don't claim any town. They reside in Jersey. That's what they say. They're like, we just live in Jersey, man. We play wherever we want, because they draw more in like the Carolinas than Jersey, which is what I'm seeing, which is crazy. And it's definitely something to kind of think about for. I don't know whoever's going to listen to us, but I promise you it's going to be mainly New Orleans people. Like, don't call New Orleans a hometown, especially if you're in a rock or metal, because it's not.
Why is that?
I mean, New Orleans isn't kind of a rock and metal industry, to be honest with you. I mean, we're in the Bible Belt. I mean, gospel and rap and jazz are thriving down here. You know, like people, there's jazz artists like packing out tips. When was the last time a rock and metal band that we know of, like a local band, has been in tips? You know,
right.
So it's not one of those things where like I'm like talking down towards anybody, because I'm with this industry with everyone else. I see what's going on. This industry used to be popping. Shout out to the high ground. It was a little bit before my time, but I mean, I've definitely heard stories of the high ground and people packing out the high ground whenever the scene was a thing. But not saying rock is dead. Rock is very much so alive.
Better right now than it has been. It's
without a doubt. Oh man.
So how would you argue against? Well, how are we ever going to grow here if we don't claim anything?
Start supporting, man. Don't talk it, live it. Do you see what I'm saying? It's just like good example. I went to an Acadiana Trace show last night. Not only because my boy Steven was playing. Shout out to Steven. I love you, bro. Steven. But because it was just like why not? You know, it was bands that I've never heard of ever playing. So I'm like, I'll go. I'll go just to kind of connect with people, just to kind of advertise. Hey, man, I'm in a band. Yada yada yada. You should follow me, or not should, but like go give me a follow. Let's link up sometime. Like, you're from Atlanta. Let's swap shows. That's how you connect with people. You see what I'm saying? It's like every type of show is an event, is an opportunity for you to make connections.
So yeah, like what I've been doing lately is just like I'll bring my camera if I have time. And
You've been doing good with that, yeah.
Thanks, man. I'll shoot some pics and I'll just be like, here. But it's way easier for me to go, hey, I record, I produce, I do all this other shit. Here's some pictures. Instead of going like, you know, or here's some pictures. By the way, I do all this shit. It's way easier for me to connect with.
Super nonchalant about it.
Yeah, but I mean, but that's the thing. Like, what are you going to offer somebody? You know what I mean? You can't just go in there and just ask and take. Mm-hmm. You know, what do you have? Like, follow my, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's try to find some way to fucking make people want to fuck with you and have some value. That's my advice.
You know, I actually got the Dayshow run from going to a Dayshow show.
Really?
Yeah. Not at all do I consider like Dayshow like a hot shit thing, but like, I mean, it was like Shaylee Bourget from Amisa Men. You know,
it's a cool opportunity.
Yeah, name dropping. No, that's one of the reasons where I was like, yo, this is kind of bigger band. Like, this is where it's at. But we were only doing like maybe 150 to like 250 people a night, but we did that for like 2 months straight.
Yeah.
So like it was competitive, or it was consistent numbers, but it was just like every single show. Side note, every single show in that run was kind of competitive, because like there would be some shows where we'd be playing with like Gideon down the street, and then we'd be playing like Ice Nine Kills would be down the street, Tillian would be following us. You know, it'd be so many different bands. Also prepare for that, man. Competition. Like, just because you're scheduled to show doesn't mean people in that scene are going to show up. There may be something else that's happening, maybe a football game. Like, you got to watch out for that stuff. You can't get butthurt, because I definitely did, and I was like, what the crap? Like, what are people doing? Like, why aren't they here? You know, that was kind of hot-headed of me and kind of green of me to do, but I definitely learned that from that run. But yeah, I got into Dayshow because I met them at a show. So the story behind that is Zach Baker, he used to be the old drummer of Dayshow. He we became friends because there was a custom drum company that was trying to get me to become one of their artists, and their top artist was Zach at the time. And so I hit him up and tried to talk to him a little bit about drums. And literally after the conversation, he goes, "Hey man, you seem kind of cool. I'm a friend you." I was like, "Sick. Like, let me know when you're down." And they played in Hattiesburg, and I went to Hattiesburg. It was oh man, it was like Slaves, them, some other Ghost Town, and two other people on that lineup. And I hit up Zach. I was like, "Hey man, I'm not asking for like a guest list or anything, but like I just want to chill out with you. I just want to get to know you and like finally meet you in person and stuff." And he brought me back where like all the vans were, and like let me set up, or let me help him set up. Good Lord. And in that moment, met everyone at Dayshaw at the time, including Shay. And if I didn't shake hands with Shay, I wouldn't have gotten the Dayshaw opportunity, because whenever Zach left, I immediately texted him and was like, "Is a spot open? Like, is that for grabs? Like, no disrespect. Like, I kind of want it. I'm a little hungry." And I messaged Shay immediately. I was like, "Here's what I've done, even though it's nothing compared to what you probably got." And the reason he chose me was because it's like, "Yeah, I met you before. I remember you, so I'm gonna go with you," as opposed to anyone else who tried out. Small things, man, making connections. That's where it's at.
Yeah, a lot of people in this, I've heard a lot of times, may not have been like the best person, but they were hungry for it and they were good people, and they knew who was there. Not to say that you weren't fit for the bill, but I'm saying like it's not. You can't just be someone who works on your craft and doesn't have the social thing down. It's got to be at least they work in tandem.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Stepping sideways. Y'all got any? What y'all got planned right now?
A lot of stuff that's not announced yet. Well, I'm pretty sure everyone knows that I just recently did some raw drums with you. Shout out to Kyle. Everyone go follow Kyle.
Yeah, I don't really talk about that.
Come on, man.
This much on the podcast.
Get a little plug.
If you need any recordings, keysound.com. Check it out. And pretty well known for just recording drums. So
Kyle's a man. Don't let anyone else say anything.
Get at your boy.
Yeah, seriously. No,
thanks, man. Appreciate that.
That was some really good drum tones that we made on that, man.
Dude, shout out.
And what's crazy is that, what's crazy is that I kind of don't want to admit this, but we found out that one of the toms was out of tune by the end of the session, and it was probably out of tune for about 2 or 3 of those songs that we recorded, but we couldn't hear it.
No, it sounded good.
So it's just like it all goes back to the technique.
All goes back to technique.
It all goes back to technique, man.
Also, in general, on drum production, with like unexperienced drummers and things like that, people who come record. I mean, dude, drums sound totally different under a mic than they do into your ears.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
You got to know how it's going to sound.
So like, kind of sound funky to your ears, but we'll like listen back to the recordings and it sounds fine. And a lot of times, I will say though, general recording engineering rule of thumb is a lot of times, especially for big rock mixes, really detuned toms will help. Depending on the set.
You said detuning?
Yeah, like really
uptune.
Really low tune toms will help for recording. More so than you would think. They'll sound super dead to you in the room, but a lot of times that'll just result into like the head's moving and they're being punched on the mic and they're not being crazy overtones. Now, not to say that you can't get high toms sound good, and if you're in like a proggy ass metal band, then go for it. But I'm saying a lot of times big rock drums, if you're recording, try to tune them low. It might work. It might not, though. It's all about what works at that time, and there's no hard rules. That's why recording can drive you crazy, but it's also a never-ending pursuit, and that's why I like it, But
yeah, just also doing a little bit of research on mics as well. See what kind of frequencies they put in, or see what kind of frequencies they
or you
collect.
just gotta try different mics
or that
and spend time on the production, because you never know. One mic might sound good one day and one mic might sound good the next day with everything set up exactly the same. That's the thing that drives me crazy. But
I'm just an idiot. I just play drums. Let me play drums while everyone
and
works.
also a testament to how good those drums sound in the session we did do. I mean,
they sound so good, man.
You're a good drum tech though.
You're a
good drum tech. Sean taught you well. Yes,
I'd seriously credit Sean for it a lot. That man denies everything. He's like, "No, man, you're." He tries to stay humble. He's so cute. He's like, "No, man, you're a better drummer. Like you're starting to learn a whole bunch of drum tones and stuff." I'm like, "Dude, I learned everything from you."
How much does knowing how to tech your stuff help or hurt you while you're on tour? Do you ever see anybody who's just like?
I'd say you have about a 40% advantage above everybody else. It definitely looks more professional, like it kind of not only you but your band gets boosted as far as like, oh, we can trust this guy for his own tones. And it's like, I don't know if bands that I play with got burned in the back with drummers not doing what they're supposed to do as far as like knowing what their drums sound like and getting proper gear and being invested into it financially or mentally, research whatever you need to do to make sure that your drums have sort of a great sound to them. Like, that's a big thing, because you gotta one, know what your band's mix is like, two, understand what your drums are supposed to sound like in that genre. You know, like, to me, I for one do not mainly believe there is one set drum tone for every single genre of music.
Absolutely not.
So
that goes with cymbals, snare drums, toms.
Without it, that's why there's so many of them. That's why there's so many sticks. You know, if it was one thing, if it was just like, another thing I want to talk about whenever you told me about when you told me to get on the podcast, if there was one correct way to play drums, there would be one type of stick, one type of cymbal, one wood of drum. You see what I'm saying? Like, everything would be one set way, and there wouldn't be any type of options. But there's so many different options and so many different correct way to play drums. Not the right way, but the correct way to play drums, that there's so many different variations that you need to learn about.
And that's where learning from others comes in, you know?
Yes,
like,
seriously.
that's what I'm saying. You'll always, even if someone just does the same thing and does it slightly different, it'll benefit you to learn the way that they're doing it, because it'll help you learn your way better, and vice versa.
That's same. You can actually use that advice to trying to make it an industry, man. You're doing one thing over and over and over again, but it's the right thing. But once it works and once you figure it out, it's just like it's like hitting a home run. Like, you hit it so many different times, once you get that home run, it's like you're there.
All right, what's one piece of gear you want to shout out to everybody?
Oh my God, I feel like this is a call out. All right, so I have what you call a Franken snare, and I will never sell it ever in my life period ever. So send me shout out to Mapex, send me shout out to World Max Drums in Taiwan. I say me. My father picked up a rusted, beat down black brass snare years ago. I think maybe like 12 years ago. I was probably still like 9 or 10 years old whenever he got this. But he picked it up from Ray Lanier's in Mandeville, Covington. I think I'm saying it right. I haven't been there in years, but he picked it up from that drum shop over there for like $200. And it had like an dusty, old, beaten-in Aquarian head. Not saying Aquarian's any like devaluing anything. Aquarian makes great stuff, but it had like a beaten-in Aquarian head, top and bottom. Like all the hardware was shot. Had to do a lot of surgery on it. And I just kept it. I kept it for years. I tried to sell it one time because I was like balls deep in the Mapex, man. I can't tell you. I still kind of am, but like, Tama's where it's at. Shout out to Tama. Bring back the Birch Babinga, please. No, but all right, back to my equipment. I didn't do anything to that snare until Sean actually came up to me. He saw that snare and he's like, "You need to refurbish that snare and put a good head on it." I was like, "You think?" He's like, "I know. Just like do whatever you can." So, I kept the shell, I kept the throw off, and I gutted everything else out. I changed the lugs, I changed wing nuts, changed rims, tension rods, whatever you can think of, besides the shell and the throw off system. And I put like the power hoops from Apex, like a 2.3 mil, whatever it is, towards it, and put an MX on it, and it sounds freaking amazing. I used to use the Power Stroke 77, and it was a little too choppy and a little too cutty for me. And then I started realizing, and I didn't realize that until I put an MX on, and that MX is where it's at. But that drum with that configuration is like amazing, and I can't believe it's like a $200 fine.
So World Max,
Mapex hardware.
That's what it is. The snare.
Yeah, it's all Mapex hardware, man. Because I had like 3 or 4 different Mapex snares that I didn't use, and I just put it on towards the World Max snare to kind of, because like the World Max hardware had rust and it was beaten in, it was curved in. Like it literally needed some love to it.
It sounded sick on the session.
It sounded amazing. Watch out for the record.
Basically shout out any of those black brass shells that are like that, which can be found for pretty cheap. I have the pork pie one. Yeah,
that's still pretty good. It's honestly the same shell, but different hardware.
That's what I'm saying. So they got the pork pie one. They have Gretsch has a cheaper one. That's the same shell.
DW has one that's like super expensive. It's like a Performance Series brass or whatever. Pearl has one that's really good. The reference black brass. That's really good.
Get a brass snare drum. Shout out metal snare drums.
Steel snare drums too. Honestly, side note. So I'm a huge Under Oath fan, but an old Under Oath fan kind of. But the new record is actually pretty good. It's got some really good snare tones on it because they kind of faded it.
Bro.
What?
You can't like the new one.
Oh, get on my face. You can like any type of music, which is why I'm listening to like Kirk Franklin now.
Kirk.
Shout out to Kirk. But no, he has, I forget the signature snare drum he has, but he has like a steel snare drum, and I've had bad experiences with steel snare drums, but for some reason his sound amazing. Shout out to Aaron.
Tama Steel sounds sick.
Is it the 14x8? That's a big boy right there.
Yeah, that snare sounds good.
That's a big old boy. But yeah, you know who's also really good at configuring drum tones and stuff like that? I don't think he's actually been that much into like getting taught it or getting taught like the good essence of equipment. But every single time I've seen him, he's always had like pretty top paid equipment for what he's doing. Nicholas Guidry. He's really, really good at configuring his drums. He actually has a black brass snare drum too. So kudos to Nick.
Brass boys.
He's got it where it's at, I promise you.
Brass boys.
Also, another thing that I want to tie into about what we talked about earlier is the drum click, man. Shout out to the drum click.
Shout out drum click.
Yeah, that's where it's at, man.
Name off the drum click, dude.
So obviously you got your boy Sean that we talk about a whole bunch in this podcast. So you need to get Sean on this. Sean,
He's coming.
Yeah, I hope Sean is coming. Sean, Devin from Cane Hill, me, James from Hollow City, James Hammond. I could throw Brock in there. I can throw Nick in there as well. You trying to get Scott in there. Scott 7. Shout out to Scott. You must love that Slingerland kid. I got you.
Yep.
No. But obviously we got our boys, which is another thing I wanted to talk about. From one thing I learned from the Downbeat podcast with Craig Reynolds from Stray. He had Mike Johnson on, and he was talking about having different types of friends. And it's like, or having different types of groups. So obviously we have our group, but how far is our group going to get us? You know, so like obviously this is a local group. We're friends, you know, like we have each other's back no matter what. But there's a group that you need to have to also help promote yourself and get out there, you know? So I was like, as soon as I heard that, I was like, who can that considered be? You know, like who do I talk to regularly that will maybe help me, you know?
Yeah.
The only people I can think of is like, I'm not putting myself on any type of pedestal, like not at all. But I have toured, and I do have some shows underneath my belt, and like I consider myself up to these guys' tier. So I was like, who can get me out there that can help me? Sean can be considered out there. You know, he's drum tech for a lot of big bands. A lot of big bands. That man has way too much under his resume. Devin can be out there as far as like who's out there commercially. You know, Zach Baker, ex Dayshell, he's now in Slaves. I talk to him very, very much so often. Actually, shout out to Connor Allen from Secrets. I have yet to meet the lad, but I've connected through him through Instagram through the Dayshell tour, and he has been a pleasure to talk to every single time. Even though he loves his acrylic DW kit, I just keep on ewing at him the whole entire time. Nothing towards DW acrylic kits. For me, I'm a Tama guy, and like Tama DW, it's like kind of like a fighting force to me. I just give him shit for it. It's all right. Shout out to Connor. Those are really the only people that can see like, okay, let's get this kid's career like past this, you know. So keep that in mind for whoever's listening. Seriously, if you want to tour, you're obviously going to have your friends down here that you're gonna relate to and that you're going to promote with for wherever you're from. Not saying it's a hometown; it's where you live.
But you got to expand your horizons.
You have to expand. You got to find friends out there. You got to find connections that are going to help you out.
Don't get
complacent.
You past. Don't get complacent. Just
100%.
Always be trying to move forward. Yeah, man. Well, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me. Seriously.
Any last words for the homies? The people.
I appreciate everyone listening to this podcast, even though I'm like a basic nobody, and people are gonna look at this and be like, "Who's PJ Huesmann?" But I appreciate everyone listening to this podcast. Shout out to all the people that have helped me get to this point, whether it be the podcast or where I'm at in my music career, whether it be like family, girlfriends, friends, wherever. Shout out to all those people. If you want to talk to me, DM me about any type of questions. I'll be glad to help you guys with as far as anything I've learned from tuning, from hand technique that we talked about in the podcast. Look me up, PJ Huesmann, Facebook. Follow me on Instagram, DA_pajamas, the pajamas, and go follow my band, Stepping Sideways. We got some really good stuff. I'm really proud of the record that's about to come out. I can't say when, I can't say what we're doing for it, but go follow that band. I'm very, very proud of this record.
And if you need to buy stuff, hit them up at Guitar Center.
Yeah. If you need to buy stuff, hit me up at the Drum Center, Guitar Center, or a drum section of the Guitar Center.
Cool, man. Well, be cool, PJ.
I'm gonna try to. No promises.
Later, bro. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to go check out Lantern Light on our website at www.lanternlightinc.com and on all socials at Lantern Light Inc. Every episode is brought to you by Key Sound. Go check us out at www.keesound.com and contact us to get high-quality recordings, especially if you need high-quality drum recordings. Hit me up. Thanks, guys. Until next time. Peace.